Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, I'm going to react to the most dangerous tourist destinations in the USA. Now this is going to be interesting. I would never think of a tourist destination as dangerous. To qualify for that, I'm trying to think of some places, perhaps the Grand Canyon, I guess, if you were to fall off the edge. But then I'm sure there's loads of signs, probably maybe a little gate that goes around it to prevent people from getting too close to the edge. So yeah, this video should be really interesting to watch, so let's do it.
Have you ever thought you'd die on vacation?
No.
That type of thing happens more often than you'd think. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to The World According to Briggs. Let's talk about getting croaked on vacation. That's not something to do with drinking too much. Well, I guess it can be. In 2019, the daughter of a couple my wife and I know from our hometown was bit by a shark while vacationing in the Bahamas. Heartbreakingly, she didn't survive the attack. After this, I started reading about shark attacks, and this of course led me down that Google rabbit hole, and I learned far more than is healthy about shark attacks. This of course led to another rabbit hole of how many people in the United States are seriously injured or killed while vacationing in the United States. I was kind of alarmed, and you might find this one a little bit shocking. There are over 2 billion tourist trips in the United States every non-pandemic year. That is both American and foreign tourists visiting places in the United States. That's a lot of opportunities for people to kick the bucket while having a good time. We're not going to do this one in any particular order. Here are the most dangerous tourist spots in the United States.
I mean, how horrible would that be? A vacation is something that you wait a long time for, some people book them like a year in advance, 6 months in advance. You're really excited for it, you save up to go on it, and then God forbid, you lose your life.
Number 10, Half Dome, Yosemite National Park, California. Easily the most recognizable landmark in all of Yosemite, Half Dome is a granite dome formation towering over the eastern end of the Yosemite Valley like a monolith from a forgotten time. Half Dome is the most well-known rock formation in the park, perhaps even the entire United States. People from all around the globe have traveled to this place to gaze upon its magnificence. Since 2005, there have been at least 15 deaths, 311 accidents, and 150 search and rescue missions on Half Dome. Around 60 people have died on Half Dome and the trail that leads up to it since they started keeping records around 1910. I did see different stats that
But why? Is it people trying to climb to the top of it?
Say it's closer to 100 people, but most say it's 60 or thereabouts. It takes a whole day to hike this trail in which you climb over 5,000 feet or 1,500 meters if you're not from the United States. And the last 400 feet are nearly vertical, so you need to use cables to complete the climb. When it rains, the slippery rocks can be deadly. There's a section of Half Dome known as the Death Slabs. Number 9, Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone National Park is located in the western United States, most of which being in the northwest corner of Wyoming, and extends into Montana and Idaho. It is known for its landscapes, wildlife, and geysers, including the most famous geyser of all, Old Faithful. Watching the Old Faithful geyser erupt is a Yellowstone tradition. People from all over the world have found their way to watch this famous geyser. It's like a family bonding moment, every summer for so many families. Old Faithful is one of nearly 500 geysers in Yellowstone. And
how hot does the water get? I would imagine it's pretty warm because it's kind of steaming off here. Does it burn people or something?
And one of the 6 that park rangers currently predict. It is uncommon to be able to predict a geyser eruption with regularity. But Old Faithful has lived up to the name. It's faithfully been blowing up every 30 minutes for the last 30 years. Oh, and it's also part of a supervolcano that can blow up anytime, potentially killing thousands and pretty much vaporizing anyone that's near it. At least 22 people are known to have died from geyser-related mishaps in and around Yellowstone since 1890.
Wow.
Most of the deaths have been accidents, although 2 people did die trying to swim in the hot springs around the geysers, and 2 other people decided to get a closer look at a geyser and jumped a barrier and basically melted. Yeah, that's always pleasant. So they know it's a supervolcano. It can blow up at any time. Last time it blew up was over 640,000 years ago.
Yeah, I watched a video about maybe 6 months ago that said that if Yellowstone was to blow up, it would literally affect a lot of the planet in terms of the volcanic ash in the atmosphere. Like, a lot of the United States would be destroyed. Like, if it really, like, blew up for real. Horrible prospect. But I would imagine, you know, we would know beforehand. We'd probably feel some tremors on the Richter scale, perhaps.
So it's been a while, and a lot of people say another super eruption is going to happen soon, but a lot of scientists say that's just a bunch of nonsense and we're perfectly safe. But if it blows, it's going to be bad. Now, besides all the super volcanoes, the geysers, and the hot springs and stuff like that could kill you, got a off chance of being run over by a buffalo, mauled by a bear, attacked by a pack of wolves. These are all potential dangers in Yellowstone. Now, they don't happen like every weekend or every summer or anything like that. They are very rare to have animals attack and kill someone, but it does happen. Number 8, Action Park, New Jersey. So this one's dangers were in the past because it was shut down twice. It was opened originally in 1978 and closed in 1976 because of all the lawsuits. Then in 2014, it was reopened by the original owner's son and then closed again in 2016. I watched a documentary on this place and it was insane. This park was filled with anything that could be fun and dangerous. Safety precautions were an afterthought to these people. Most places like this have a motto of safety first. Not this place. It was have a good time, try not to get hurt, and let's throw in some precautions once we realize what's hurting people. So this was a water park, had go-karts, trampolines, an alpine slide, just about anything you could think of. They had a water slide that had a loop in it. This was back before pretty much all these crazy water slides we have now, and
that does seem a bit crazy.
It wasn't really well thought out. People would whip down this hill, get to the top of the loop, and kind of fall back down on the inside of the loop and hit it and then fall to the bottom of the slide. So people are getting injured all the time. They were getting injured on this one place, so they decided to put a padding in there because that's where people seem to be landing. And then people started coming out with scrapes and all this, and they thought that maybe there was a problem. There was a screw that was sticking out or something weird like that. They went inside there and they found out that the pad they had put down there for safety had people's teeth stuck in it.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's the type of place this was. It was known as Traction Park, Accident Park, Class Action Park, Little Effort.
Class Action Park.
was
That's
made
funny.
by state regulators to address these issues that the park had. In later years, personal injury lawsuits led to the closure of an increasing number of the rides, and eventually the entire park was shut down in 1996, like I said. But this place was crazy. They had this wave pool that was called the Tidal Wave Pool. They've had 6 deaths here, and I think 4 of them were because of that pool. Another guy had a heart attack when he hit the cold water after this thing called a Tarzan swing. It was a big rope you swung out over the water and dropped in. Well, the water wasn't heated, and it was freezing. Dude had a heart attack. All kinds of things like that.
God.
Alcohol was readily available for anyone with very little checking of the IDs and stuff like that. More than one employee had taken the go-karts onto the highway just outside of the park. This place was crazy. If you ever get a chance, go to, I think it's on HBO Max. The documentary is called Class Action Park.
I think
Number
I'd like to
7,
check
the
that
Grand
out.
Canyon. Since
The Grand Canyon, my prediction was correct.
1919, they've had 130 deaths at the Grand Canyon, and most of the ones that are a result of falling off a cliff were people trying to, quit the oxygen habit on their own. On average, the Grand Canyon sees 12 deaths a year and around 300 rescues. Most rescues are heat-related injuries, broken bones, things like that. More than a few people have been hit by falling rocks and had eye injuries, and one woman in 2016 broke her own nose with her fist while adjusting her bra. Not kidding. Don't know how big this bra was, but apparently it packed a wallop. Number 6, Hawaii. Between July of 2015 and January of 2019, around 177 tourists died in Hawaii, around 1 a week on average. Most have died from injuries suffered while doing common tourist activities like swimming, snorkeling, hiking, eating Spam. Drowning is a big killer, as you can imagine, and most of the time it happens while snorkeling, not while surfing or anything like that. Moped and scooter accidents are another big one, and I was really hoping to see a bunch of people got hit on the head with coconuts every year, but I guess that rarely happens. I was informed, though, by Kayla, our resident Hawaiian, that calling a local coconut to their face might get you hit on the head with something.
Really?
Number 5, Golden Gate National Recreation Area. This one you might not think is dangerous, but it is. Growing up near the ocean, I can tell...
This is the Golden Gate. Does that lead to San Francisco, or it's in San Francisco? I think it's close.
tell you sometimes it is deceptively dangerous. Rip current, shore pound, and sneaker waves are some of the risks you face when getting wet in the Pacific Ocean. Golden Gate Recreation Park has all those and more. This is a rocky shoreline, and if you're not paying attention, a wave will pick you up and throw you against the rocks. That's never fun. If you're not sure what that feels like, run outside, jump as high as you can in the air, and land flat on your back. It pretty much feels like that.
Oh
Despite its name, the Golden Gate Bridge is not part of the park. It is managed by the Bridge District, and so the rising number of jumpers off the bridge here are not part of the park's stats. The roads and cliffs around the park are dangerous, and I've been here. Been quite a few years, but I can tell you these cliffs are unstable. It's no joke. Since 1972, 86 people have died here.
Wow.
Number 4, Lake Mead. Just east of Las Vegas, you have
I've noticed quite a few of these have been on the west coast.
Lake Mead in the middle of the Nevada desert. In case you've never heard of it, it's where Hoover Dam is. This place is dangerously hot, the terrain is treacherous, and in the last decade, 7 people have been murdered here that they know of. Legend has it this lake has a good amount of bodies at the bottom that didn't end up there by mistake. About 25 people a year die.
Man, the Hoover Dam is just insane to look at. It's huge, man. The amount of work that must have went into this thing, because when was it built? It looks like it's probably been around for a while, so it wouldn't surprise me if the construction of this thing took a few lives. It wouldn't surprise me at all, because this thing just looks enormous.
In and around this 290 square mile lake. A lot of those have to do with drowning, boating accidents, boating and drinking. There's a lot of drinking that goes on in these desert lakes. I've been to quite a few of them growing up in Southern California, and drinking's always an issue, and boating accidents, it's a nightmare some weekends. Number 3, Alaska. Alaska was the only...
Does Alaska count as West Coast? Because it is kind of on the West Coast.
State in the U.S. with more than 600 violent crimes per 100,000 residents in 2018. That's not good starting things off. Most of the time, those would be locals, but more than a few have been tourists. There are some potentially scary animals living around almost every tourist destination in this state. Matter of fact, the whole state's just filled with scary animals. The animals aren't what get most tourists, though. There's a variety of ways tourists in Alaska take the big nap. Hunting accidents, fishing accidents, which basically are drownings, car accidents, and hiking accidents, which include exposure or people just vanishing. That happens way too much. The car accident thing, if you've ever driven in Alaska, which I have, I'm surprised it's not way higher. Those are some of the worst and scary roads I've ever seen. You name it and you can die from it in Alaska. Alaska sees about 60 accidental deaths every year. That doesn't sound like much until you realize there's almost nobody living in this state. They have like the population of Rhode Island, and they're like the largest state. It's crazy.
Yeah, it must be like the population density in their biggest city must be pretty sparse. But would that mean that buying land there, buying property must be super cheap? But then, because they have to import a lot of stuff, is the cost of living quite high in Alaska? So it's quite a difficult thing to balance.
Number 2, Mardi Gras, New Orleans. Mardi Gras can be an incredibly good time. The chances of you getting killed are very slim. They have plenty of police that know what they're doing, and they do it well. But they can't be everywhere. The first thing I'm going to tell you won't sound like a big deal, and it's not terribly dangerous, but you should know about this. Never wear sandals. Wear legit shoes. This place is so crowded your feet will get stepped on over and over and over, normally by drunk people with real shoes on. Then you have the trash on the ground that's disgusting, and your day will be ruined when you start sloshing around the street that's filled with trash and beer and anything else. There are pickpocket scammers and straight up bad people in the crowd looking for an opportunity. If you've been drinking all day, the chances of you becoming an opportunity get higher and higher with every drink. New Orleans is a dangerous city, and it's always on the list of the most violent cities. Walking back to your hotel to save a buck can be a deadly mistake. Get a cab, get an Uber, get something.
Is it that dangerous in New Orleans? I wouldn't have thought that. I wouldn't have thought, dangerous city, New Orleans. I would have thought maybe, I don't know, Chicago, based on what I've heard.
Last thing I will tell you, never touch the police horse. I promise you, if that happens, if you do that, you're drunk, you even pet that horse, you will catch a beating. Now, there's not really any stats that I can give you on this because it varies and it's really different. It varies year to year. But New Orleans can be a very dangerous place for a tourist, especially because being a tourist, you don't know the city. You could be a victim very easily. And before we get to number 1, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. If you like what we're doing here, please hit the subscribe button and ring that little bell notification so you know when we upload it. That just helps out the channel and I'd really appreciate it. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. New Smyrna Beach is on the Atlantic coast of Florida, just south of Daytona, a little north of Cape Canaveral, and it's a great place to go if you want to get bit by
Cape Canaveral, that's where they launch rockets from, isn't it? I'm sure NASA has a launch base in Cape Canaveral.
Shark. According to the University of Florida in 2007, New Smyrna Beach experienced more shark bites than any other place in the world, even beating out shark hotspots like South Africa. Since they started logging shark attacks, New Smyrna Beach has had a total of 238 attacks to date, with 25 bites in 2008 alone. They also had 24 in 2016. So let me give you an idea of how high that 238 number is. There have only been about 2,800 shark attacks recorded ever for the entire planet. They started tracking these in 1580. Yeah, that far back. In other words, New Smyrna Beach has seen almost 9% of all reported shark attacks ever.
Crazy.
So if you really want to get bit by a shark or go watch someone get bit by a shark, this is the best place to visit.
Dang, man.
All right.
It just blows my mind, lists like this, to discover that 12 people a year lose their lives at the Grand Canyon. It's just, you wouldn't think that the number would be recurring like that. You would think that after the first bunch of people died, by whether it's falling off the cliff or if it's maybe heat stroke or something, that people would take the necessary precautions. They wouldn't get too close to the edge. They would bring plenty of water. But man, it's just, really fascinating list. A lot of food for thought for me. Really, really interesting. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.